Presiding Officer, we are in the middle of a cost of living crisis where too many people are struggling to make ends meet. At the same time, oil and gas giants are making record profits. British Gas, a tenfold increase in profits in 1 year to over £700 million. BP, £11 billion profit. Total, £16 billion profit. Shell, £22 billion profit. Why does the First Minister think that these companies can't afford to pay more tax?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, I have to say, a week after the P&J put Anas Sarwar's face on the front page with his Labour colleagues and called him a traitor of the North East, it is incredibly brave of Anas Sarwar to come up here and say that he is standing up for the North East.
Let's hear the First Minister.
I, of course, travelled to the North East this week and heard the palpable anger from oil and gas and renewable energy sectors and industries, who, of course, spoke about Anas Sarwar's plans, the Labour Party's plans, which would, in their words, not my words, in the industry's words, risk up to 100,000 jobs in the North East. How does Anas Sarwar think, in the midst of a cost of living crisis, throwing 100,000 workers in the scrap heap is going to help households up and down the country? So we absolutely believe in a windfall tax on energy companies. What we don't believe in is Anas Sarwar's and Labour's aggressive plans to raid the North East so they can build new nuclear power plants in England. So we won't allow it. We won't stand for it. We'll stand up for the North East. Anas Sarwar can't even stand up to Keir Starmer, Presiding Officer.
Anas Sarwar.
Presiding Officer.
Thank you. Let's hear Mr Sarwar.
Every time Labour's proposed a change to help working people, warnings have been made and they've not come true. In 1997, when Labour proposed a minimum wage and a windfall tax, they were warned it would cost 2 million jobs. It didn't happen. It improved the lives of working people across the country. Now, Humza Yousaf used to support Labour's windfall tax, but now he's siding with energy giants, making record profits, while today he is putting up tax for working people across this country who are struggling. Maybe
Let's hear Mr Sarwar.
While Shell have brought in £22 billion in profit, energy bills have increased by 60% and people are struggling to heat their homes. While BP make £11 billion in profit, food prices are up 25% and people are struggling to put food on the table. While British Gas sees a tenfold increase in profits, mortgages have increased by £2,000 a year and families risk losing their home. Why does the SNP believe that if you earn £28,500, you have the broadest shoulders and should pay more tax, but if you're an energy giant making billions in profit, you should pay less tax?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, imagine taking a lecture about standing up for those in the lowest incomes from the man who's flip-flopped his position and now believes in lifting the cap on bankers' bonuses, Presiding Officer. Oh, wow! Who would have thought? Who would have thought? The party of the few, not the party of the many, Presiding Officer. And it is astonishing that Anas Sarwar has stood up in this chamber and called the energy industry liars. That is what he has done. Let me just say what Offshore Energy UK have said. They claim that Labour's proposals would lose at least up to 42,000 jobs, and I quote, wipe out North Sea investment. Investment bank Stifel have said that under a worst-case scenario, Labour's proposals would wipe up to 100,000 jobs out. Put them on the scrap heap. So what you get with Labour's energy proposal, Presiding Officer, is the worst of both worlds. You end up getting all of the investment in oil and gas, which of course has been good for Scotland over the decades. That gets completely wiped out. And then what does Keir Starmer do? He dumps his £28 billion a year Green Prosperity Fund. Scotland's energy should be in Scotland's hands, because successive Westminster governments have raided the North East, have raided Aberdeen, have raided our oil and gas revenues, and not a single penny has been invested back into the people of Aberdeen or the North East. And for that, Anas Sarwar should stand up and apologise.
Anas Sarwar.
Presiding officer, I can't wait to present the choice at the next general election between the SNP and the Labour Party.
Let us hear.
I can't wait.
Mr. Sarwar. Sorry. Let's ensure that we can hear one another. Mr. Sarwar.
I was just saying, Presiding Officer, I can't wait to present the choice to the Scottish people come to the next general election, because firmly the SNP on the side of energy giants making billions and Labour trying to bring down people's bills and on the side of working people. But let's be clear what Labour's windfall tax on record profits of energy giants will be spent on. It will mean more jobs, lower bills, greater energy security and delivering a just transition for Scotland. It will mean investment in GB Energy,
Let us hear Mr. Sarwar.
A publicly owned energy generation company headquartered here in Scotland. It will mean investment in our ports, in onshore wind, offshore wind, green hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, and strengthening our supply chains. It will mean creating 50,000 new jobs in Scotland. So isn't it the case that the Scottish people have a choice? The SNP increasing tax on working people while siding with the oil and gas giants, or Labour creating jobs, bringing down bills and firmly on the side of working people?
First Minister.
Presiding officer, first can I remind Anas Sarwar, when he talks about people in the midst of a cost of living crisis, he now has flip-flopped his way to being in a position where he believes on retaining the cap on the child benefits, but wants to lift the cap on bankers' bonuses, presiding officer. It is utterly outrageous. And let me say to Anas Sarwar, when I was in Aberdeen earlier this week, I can't wait to go head-to-head with Anas Sarwar in Aberdeen on the general election. And in fact, he can debate the oil and gas industry and renewables with me in Aberdeen any and every single day of the week. And Anas Sarwar claims that the Labour and incoming Labour government will make all sorts of investments.
First Minister, if you just give me a moment.
They don't like it, presiding officer. They don't like it one single bit.
First Minister, just give me a moment. Let's ensure we carry on our proceedings with courtesy and respect. Let's ensure we can hear one another.
And Anas Sarwar claims that there will be a whole range and raft of investment from an incoming Labour government. Of course, what is obvious, presiding officer, is the branch manager didn't get the memo that the £28 billion has been dumped. So not a single penny of that investment is going to be coming to Scotland. So, presiding officer, successive UK governments have taken £400 billion in today's prices in oil and gas revenue, raided the North Sea as a cash cow without investing a fraction of it back in the North East and back in Aberdeen. With Anas Sarwar's plans, you end up with 100,000 workers on the scrap heap and no investment in our net zero ambitions. Isn't it about time that Scotland's energy was in Scotland's hands, presiding officer?
Question number 3.